Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is episode 2 of World Break, the lore podcast thingy-majig that I wanted to start doing because there's going to be so much involved when the game fully comes out. If you're not aware, open beta test happens tomorrow in literally 12 hours. So if you haven't downloaded it already, go over to Steam, type in Mecha BREAK demo, download that, open it, set your configurations, and then make sure you are ready for tomorrow. But today, we are going to be talking about the organizations that exist and the manufacturers within the world of Mecha BREAK. And as like last time, I will let Az pretty much just take the floor. I will provide aids when and where they are needed. But generally, I will shut up and I will let Az take most of the wheel. So without further ado, Az, take it away.
Hello, everybody. So, just to recap, my name is AZSXJ, mainly go by As. I'm a Discord moderator in the Mecha Break Discord, and I'm also our designated lore master for Mecha Break.
Accurate.
Self proclaimed. So, in this episode, I'll be listing out the several different manufacturers of the strikers in Mecha Break, and we'll be going on over possible imbalances between factions and what industry works under what faction and what are the differences between the listed are. So just a quick disclaimer, this is my interpretation of the currently available information based off the website, postings in the Discord, the official Mecha Break YouTube channel, and etc. Those of you who disagree, you're always welcome to leave comments, or if you have different opinions, go right ahead. Without further ado, we'll start with the first striker, arguably the first third generation striker that was developed, and that's Alesenus, also kind of like the poster child for Mecha Break. So, Alesenus is a prototype model that used to go by Sturgeon, and it was developed by Pyrogenesis. So, for those of you unfamiliar, Pyrogenesis Industries is like the grandfather industry of strikers in the sense that it developed the fluid shields that we know that third generation strikers are prominent for. The fluid shields are basically like the halo over shields every striker has in the game that protects it from damage. Once that goes out, then it takes, hull or HP damage. Uh, Pyrogenesis is also responsible for the mind projection system, also known as Mind Bridge. And basically, what that does is, if you're familiar with Gundam, it's kind of like a psycho frame where it's like you can connect with the Gundam via your mind, or like Ava, there's like a pilot synchronization, so you have more accurate maneuverability and actions you can do with your striker. So Alesenus or Sturgeon was technically the first one to have those systems applied to it. And so Alesenus belongs to the Pyrogenesis Industries. Prior to that, um, Pyrogenesis used to be called the Marciana Brain Tech Institute, and that's when they developed the Mind Bridge system. So Pyrogenesis Industries is super important because not only did it create the Mind Bridge system, the fluid shields, it's also responsible for a lot of experimental technology for all the kits and the different strikers, which I'll go over more in depth once I get to each individual striker. Oh yeah, and here's a anonymous quote here from Pyrogenesis is here we go. Pyrogenesis has openly acknowledged one thing. While Alesenus boasts exceptional performance and an impressive combat record, it's more than just a weapon. So that was kind of my clue that there's something more suspicious going on with strikers, the mine bridge system, and Corite. Because, as most of you might be aware, but strikers are powered by a Corite engine. So strikers are powered by Corite. Most of their weaponry, their shields, powered by Corite. The pilot in the mine bridge system links to a Corite brain inside the striker. So there's a lot of Corite going on.
And just as a kind of a link between sort of franchises, would you say Korai is similar to Coral from like AC6, or would you say it's something entirely different?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty similar. Um, Coral seems to have like a consciousness, or it's a living kind of resource that all of the, well, not all, but the
Yeah.
armored core, the frames are powered from. Seems to be going in that direction with the overall Mecha Break story, as they revealed in the official TGA video and the recent streams that Corite seems to be alive and it's able to reanimate some strikers and infect them and like
Hmm.
take control of them. As well as we're already aware Corite's also dangerous to humans. It's kind of like a radiation poisoning. So
Lovely.
there's an interesting dynamic of bad for people, but also powers robot and society, and also turns them into zombies. Maybe probably overexposure, but we can
Potentially,
go,
maybe.
we can go over that in maybe another episode.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, so next one I want to go into is Welkin. Again, this was manufactured by Pyrogenesis Industries. What's very interesting about Welkin is Welkin, although is manufactured by Pyrogenesis Industries, it was made for Volturia Strategic Alliance. So, what's unique about Welkin is although Alesenus was the first third generation um, striker or break striker created, Welkin was the first officially recorded in combat, like publicized, was Welkin. So at this point, as soon as Welkin came into development, the world pretty much publicly only had like second and first generation strikers. First generation, the way I interpret it, was the bipedal machines. Second generation would be when they started to weaponize them, so they didn't quite have Corite weaponry or like fluid shields yet, or the ability to um, be better operated by the pilot using the mine bridge system, because that wasn't widely available yet. So the first public introduction was Welkin. And so, as it says here, Welkin was first sighted in the Circular Sea conflict. So if we go to the map, I can quickly show where the Circular Sea is. So to the far left, you see there's the VSA, that's the Volturia Strategic Alliance. And right above it, you'll see like this kind of circular um, mass of water. That's the circular ocean right in the middle. And then the islands that we actually see condensed in the middle, that's the Mashmak. And right above, you can see to the north or northeast, you'll see this is the Signia Union. This is a CCDU. So as you can see, Volturia Alliance is to the south, and to the north is Signia Union. Yeah, I mean north. So Welkin had a conflict in the center of this oceanic circular or the circular sea conflict, that location there. So Welkin, part of the Volturia Strategic Alliance, had some beef with Signia Union that was also deployed in that ocean area. What's unique about this Circular Sea conflict is Circular Sea is like it's like a power company. And my theory is because it's located so close to Mashmak, and as we know, Mashmak is like has the most condensed sources of chlorite. My theory is that they're kind of hoarding the resources of chlorite specifically from Mashmak. They're probably maybe in some sort of like power trade between the countries. Probably Vulture Alliances wants access to Mashmak or wants some sort of power that they're not being given, or maybe it's more of like a alliance issue between factions. Maybe they're just rival factions. That part we don't really know too much about. But basically, Welkin shows up to the oceanic conflict, completely decimates all the second generation units, and that's what leads into the arms race for third generation strikers.
Just to quickly jump in, if we do end up putting these on, I don't know, like podcast websites like Spotify and whatever, obviously there won't be visual aids that we've got on the streams, but yeah, just letting you know, for this episode there are visual aids. We've got maps, we've got the website stuff for the strikers, and eventually we'll come on to enemy units. But yeah, just an FYI. Carry on, Ash.
Yeah, and the second generation units that Welkin completely obliterated was the Thornblade and the Swifthawk. And both of these are second generation strikers to Signia Union. Thornblade is like a predecessor to like the Panther line, and also Swifthawk is like kind of like an alternative predecessor to Falcon before Falcon became produced or developed yet. So right now we had Generation 2, Falcon, and pretty much Panther at this point. So then that waked up the world and be like, yo, Vultura Strategic Alliance just dropped a third generation striker. They obliterated Signia Union. We got to pick it up. We got to make our own third generation strikers. So that's when Pyro Industries is like, okay, now we got a ton of new customers. So we'll just go straight into Falcon. So Falcon was manufactured by Bifrost Industry Corporation. So this specific corporation or manufacturer deals with Signia Union. And uh, Bifrost Industry is the one that developed the Falcon with assistance from Pyrogenesis. So they had a prototype model that was called Valraven, and they took the existing technology from Valraven and created Falcon. So Valraven is pretty unique flight type of prototype striker. Um, we do actually have a picture of that, but maybe we'll go over Valraven and these type of prototype strikers in depth in another podcast. But basically, they adopted the flight system from Valraven, put it into the Falcon, and then with assistance from Pyrogenesis, they were able to apply the mine bridge system, the fluid shields, and Actually, the technology behind Valraven was also produced by Pyrogenesis Industries. And so, thanks to Pyrogenesis, Signia Union has a unique advanced flyer type striker. And then we'll go over to Panther, which is also created by the Bifrost Industries Corporation. So what's unique about Panther is Panther was developed to be Signia Union's like melee specialist type striker in response to being destroyed by its predecessor being destroyed by a Welkin.
He's also the coolest looking striker in the game. Carry on.
Yeah, pretty much. So what's unique about Panther, which there's kind of explains why the lance does so much damage, is technically its lance weapon is categorized as like a 3.5 generation weapon. And so Panther was specifically designed being a melee fighter. It's designed to damage fluid shields and be able to penetrate these, third generation strikers. So it's like one of the first specifically designed anti-striker melee type unit. That's its specialization. And so in this little bio, it tells you a little bit about Grendel and some funny things. Second generation striker Thornblade was outperformed by Grendel, but there's also a prototype to Panther, also called Beowulf. So it's kind of like it's a lot of what was that? It's not Danish mythology, but I guess it's like more Norse mythology, I think.
Yeah, I would say I think Beowulf is Norse. It sounds very Norse anyway.
Yeah, a lot of Panther's weapons and all of its naming schemes are based off of like Norse mythology.
Quick correction: Beowulf is an Anglo-Saxon poem that incorporates Norse and Germanic mythology, but is not considered a Norse poem. The story is set in Denmark, Sweden, and Frisia, but was written in England. It's one of ours. So there you go.
Yeah, so
Carry
it
on.
has Nordic themes, I guess. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool touch. Yeah, I don't. You also notice that with Bifrost Industries, they have like as you said, Anglo-Saxon mythology going on here, or poem, I should say. And then just to go back real quick to Falcon, Falcon's Valraven is based off of like a Danish mythology of like a night bird. So it's like really interesting mythology going on behind these two strikers, part of Bifrost Industries, which obviously Bifrost, it's like the Norse mythology with that like light rainbow kind of bridge, like Odin and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so now we've established we have Bifrost Industries working with Signia Union and also Pyrogenesis. We have Welkin, which we just went over, developed by Pyrogenesis Industries, but it was designed for Volturia Strategic Alliance. Next, we're going to go straight into Tricera. So Tricera was manufactured by Salem Electric Company. And so this was commissioned by the Velasic, I think it's Velasic Federation. And as you can tell, I guess we should also go into like the styles, but um, So Bifrost Industries is more like a sleek, sharp kind of design, and you'll notice with the Salem Electric Company designs, they're really into like really bulky, heavy weaponry type strikers. As you can see here, Tricera, super bulky, Gatling guns, armed to the teeth type of unit here. Same thing, Pyrogenesis um, provided them with the mine bridge system for Tricera. They provided them with technology with fluid shields. They also gave it kind of like experimental technology with transformation. So that's how it goes into its like fortress mode. Um, I also forgot to mention for Panther, Pyrogenesis was involved in the development of its lance and also its unique like overshield system that it has that gives it like the extra barrier and also the free energy supply or battery. Uh, Pyrogenesis developed that system. So you'll start to notice a pattern where it's like every industry has a specific faction that they're commissioned for, but Pyrogenesis is going to provide them with experimental technology plus the mine bridge fluid shields just to kick them up to third generation.
By the way, as if there's anything that we have pictures for that's on the website, just let me know and I'll try and find it because I only know where the strikers are and the enemy mechs are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, for the most part, we you can just show them the splash image further up if you scroll up.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That should be good for now. But yeah, in the future, I'll provide more sources for strikers and images, stuff like that. The visual aids for the podcast.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. So next striker I want to go over is Stego. So Stego was also developed by Salem Electric Company. Again, this is for the Thalassic Federation. Um, things I should mention is Tricera and Stego. They both have dinosaur-related names. It's on purpose because they're part of the Dino series. And just like Tricera, third generation striker, that means it has fluid shields, it has the mine bridge system, and just like Tricera, it has similar technology with transformation. Again, like it mentions large stabilizers, absorbs impact. It has like the whole weapon, excuse me, long range targeting, stuff like that. Both Stego and Tricera share a very similar play style. And as you can see, just like the Salem Electric Company style so far, they're always developing bulky, heavy armored, and heavily weaponed or weaponized strikers. I would say the funny design touch I notice with a lot of the Salem industry strikers is they have kind of tiny heads compared to their body.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I really like it. It's like if we go back to Tricera, Stego's head looks not so bad proportional wise, but if you look at Tricera, I don't know if it's
It's
also
absolutely
the
tiny.
color scheme, you can barely see his head. It's so small.
So a quick thing from somebody in the chat. Apparently, Stegosaurus means roof lizard. So from now on, I'm not calling this striker Stego. I'm calling it roof lizard. So there you go.
Yeah, I guess that does make kind of sense. The plates did look like roof tiles or like shingles or something.
Something like that.
And if you think about it, like all the missiles it's shooting out, they look like roof tiles.
I guess, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go over Inferno. So again, I'm starting to notice a little pattern. Uh, Again, Salem Electric Company. They developed Inferno. Inferno, huge guns, heavy armor. I believe its striker designation is like ultra heavy attacker.
Yeah, I think Inferno and I don't know if I can't remember if Stego is ultra heavy. It might just be heavy, but yeah, Inferno's ultra heavy attacker and Tricera's ultra heavy defender.
Yeah. And
Let's have a look at.
interestingly enough, Panther is a medium type striker. Falcon is a light, but we'll see when it comes to Salem, they like big boys.
That's true.
Yeah. So interesting little tidbit. Inferno and Hurricane, they're like siblings. Inferno is the brother, Hurricane is the sister unit. They were all developed for Tholastic Federation. So what pyrogenesis did here is it gave it experimental like power generation technology, which seems kind of similar to Panther because Panther can also like generate emergency like power. So that's why it has like a battery that lets you get free EN on a cooldown. Inferno is very similar. I think it's auxiliary maybe 3 weapon. I forget, but basically gives you free EN generation also over shields, I believe. So that's Inferno's gimmick through pyrogenesis is its ability to generate power, which I guess also ties into the theme of it having big energy guns because it has the ability to generate enough power to use
Okay,
those type of weaponry.
please forgive me. I forgot that the weapons and stuff were further down the on the website. So yeah, I can show it now.
Well, that's all. Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, Hurricane, Inferno, they're all about heavy beam weaponry. So again, Salem, same pattern. But we're also noticing Tholastic Federation has a lot of strikers being developed. So I guess we can jump over straight to Hurricane. If you want to go into more of, yeah, this is the kit, the booster kit. Gives it more dashes, gives it energy. That was made by Pyrogenesis.
Another
So it's
tiny head.
interesting that, yeah, well, I mean, this head's not so bad. I find that Inferno, Stego, Hurricane have more sizable heads compared to Tricera.
True, true.
So both Inferno and Hurricane, they utilize drone technology. A lot of them use a type of drone. It's like a reflector drone. But Salem Electric Company, heavy big boys, in this case, heavy girl, heavily armored. This one specializes in like beam weaponry and also beam shielding, also more experimental tech. So, unique distinction between Inferno and Hurricane, as Hurricane uses its reflector drones to split its beam emitter into like a wide cone so it can hit multiple targets. Inferno uses its reflection drones to um, focus all of its beams directly into its chest. I think it's like proton cannon or something like that, directly out into a focused beam. So as you see, the splitter here has reflector drones. See, it says the accompanying reflector drones converge the beam. So it's very similar to Inferno, but instead of reflecting it back into the main cannon to do a single target beam, it reflects it to hit multiple targets. So that's like the brother sister relationship. Also, funny thing about Hurricane is I believe there is Odyssey reference here with Scylla and Charybdis. I think the main weapon for number one, I think is called. Uh, let's see. Oh, they change it.
The energy blaster for Hurricane is Cyclops.
So okay. So the energy blaster says Cyclops. The turret drone is called Charybdis.
Decoy is called Siren.
Yeah, so they're pretty much going over like the Odyssey.
Yeah, there you
Epic.
go. Turret drone is Charybdis, and then Splitter is Scylla. So I think that's Greek mythology.
Yeah, yeah. It's a Greek mythology, Odyssey. These are all like
Oh right, yeah, you said Odyssey. Yeah, of
monster
course.
names. Yeah, that's kind of fun. They're going back into the mythology, but this time Greek instead of, I guess, more of an Anglo-Saxon poem with Norse mythology tied into the weapons,
Yeah.
which I think is appropriate. They're all monsters of a kit, all annoying to deal with. And the whole dynamic between Scylla and Charybdis is they're both really bad monsters, and they had to drive a ship, but they could only go in either direction. So it's like you want to deal with Scylla or Charybdis. They're both bad. Yeah. Okay, so going on to the next striker, we will go over. Let's go over Sky Raider. So this time the manufacturer is NG System Companies. So this is also a commission for Tholastic Federation. So as we can see here through the bio, or the background, Sky Raider was um, inspired by Valraven, the prototype for Signet Union. So mimicking its transformation or flight technology, Pyrogenesis helped them develop a new type of flight system just for Tholastic Federation. I guess they pretty much figured, hey, we got a lot of heavy boys. Maybe we need to work on our aerial units. So they went straight to copying Valraven. Now we have Sky Raider. It's a very interesting little bio here at the bottom. Pretty much like the Army and the Air Force are having an argument determining whether Sky Raider should belong to the Army in the Tholastic Federation because it's a bipedal. Air Force argues, no, it can turn into a plane. It should be for the Air Force. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, same deal. Pyrogenesis assisted in the development. NGS system commissioned by Tholastic Federation. Now we're noticing a new pattern where Tholastic Federation sure has a lot of strikers. Okay, so let's go over to Aquila.
One sec, just going through the weapons.
Oh yeah, we can go over the weapons. Oh, if we go back to the missile, I think Auxiliary 3. It's an interesting name.
Jimson weed. Are these all flowers? Or are
I
they
think they
weeds?
are.
Because I saw
Unless this
hyacinth
is,
at the bottom, so.
yeah, so as you're gonna notice naming patterns. I believe they are like plants or weeds.
Jimson weed. Yeah, they all seem to be plants. Okay, interesting.
Hmm. Except for the very last missile at the bottom. His nickname is Ice Cream Truck, so I don't know how.
Oh yeah, an ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So just as a Thalassic Federation patterns can't have a striker without having tons of weapons. In this case, missile dispensers, more rocket pod missiles, charge beam gun, EMP type of missile it also shoots out. So this pattern with Thalassic Federation units is they're all heavily armed, a lot of missiles, a lot of beams. So now we'll go on to Aquila. Again, another Thalassic Federation unit under the same company, NGS System Company. Except Aquila is pretty unique, where it appears that Aquila was like salvaged from some sort of wreck, and Pyrogenesis took that and started to create like its own new variant of Aquila. It's very interesting. So, who originally created Aquila, I'm not too sure, but the ones that we're dealing with are kind of like a restoration project. And so over here it talks about the defensive field, but I think this is kind of old information because Aquila doesn't have, if you saw the developer update, Aquila no longer has its like shield barrier. It has like a multi-lock on ability. And also, I think it should also have similar plant naming scheme. So I believe the air kit's called Camellia, which I think isn't it?
Yeah, there's time beam cannon, sycamore defensive field, clematis claw drone,
Yeah, so they all should be like flowers, I
and
believe, or some sort of plant.
Edelweiss, not sure. One of them.
Yep. Yeah, the Camellia exoskeleton from Aquila's wreckage. So this is one of the interesting cases where this was like a striker that was wrecked and they found its pieces and they're like, well, let's try to put it back together. And they just pretty much commissioned it for Thalassic Federation. So it's pretty interesting that Pyrogenesis seems pretty generous with sharing its experimental technology with all of these manufacturers, providing them with, the fluid shields and the mind bridge system.
So just
Very
just
cool.
talking about the mind bridge system real quick. Is it? I mean,
Hmm.
have you seen Iron Blooded Orphans?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, so the system that they use there, is it a similar thing?
Similar. It's definitely less intrusive, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, true.
You don't have to get experimental surgery done just so you can pilot Barbie toes.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
the
so
IVO procedure is rough for sure.
yeah, so as far as I understand, there is like a pilot sync rate, which you will notice when you do the boarding sequence. Into your striker on the far right, there's usually a little percentage and it says pilot sync rate. And so what you're doing is you're synchronizing, which I think is really similar to like UC's like Psycho Frame, where there's kind of like mental connection between you and the striker. That's why it's called a mind bridge. There's like a neural link that goes on between the pilot and the striker. And so it sounds really odd, right? Because, oh, oops, sorry about that. So just like, for instance, Ava, people who are familiar with Ava, those units are like living things and they're like kind of synchronizing with that living mecha, where it's like a similar vein here. It's kind of odd for a pilot needing to synchronize with the striker to a computer that's called a Q brain, which is basically a Corite brain to the striker. So it's kind of also similar. I guess you can maybe, if you're familiar with like Pacific Rim, you're like
Mm.
linking your mind with the striker. And I don't know if it's really lifting the burden of piloting it, but it's definitely making it way easier to pilot the striker.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a bit more sense for sure.
hmm So that also leads me to believe Corite's more conscious or alive, kind of like Coral and Armored Core. So I'm
Mhm.
like, why would you be syncing your brains to something that's not alive? How would it be any different from just like logging onto your computer and doing stuff? But that brings us back to the line with Elesenus, where pyrogenesis was like, Elesenus is more than just a weapon. So there's like a weird mysteriousness behind the mind bridge system, and like why they're put into strikers.
I do really like how, when since we're getting into this game from pretty much the beginning, there's so much lore that is shrouded in mystery at the moment that we're all just going to learn bit by bit as the game gets into open beta tomorrow, and then potentially if there's another CBT or if it even just goes into full release, just like they're dripping bits of information into us, and I really enjoy it. It's nice.
Yeah, there's so much mystery still in Mecha Break. And hopefully, after the open beta test, we'll have even more information. We already
Fingers
had
crossed.
little teases about Corite infecting strikers, so I wonder if that's just a result of higher concentrations because you're inside Mashmac, and Mashmac has like the highest concentration of Corite. But that'll be a topic for another episode.
Oh yes, indeed.
So I guess we can go over into Pinaka. So Pinaka has an interesting manufacturer. They're called Maha Industries. And so Pinaka, what's interesting about this striker is it has what seems to be more like Southeast Asian kind of Indian roots. I believe Pinaka is like the name of a bow or a weapon from like a Hindu, I believe, god.
Oh, interesting. Pinaka.
I believe it's Shiva. So the Hindu god Shiva, its weapon is a bow.
Interesting. Yeah, Pinaka refers to the bow of the Hindu god Shiva, as well as a rocket launcher system used by the Indian military. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Beta, to answer your question, Myth Nephilim, we're not too sure. It should be announced pretty soon. Most likely tomorrow we'll actually see the date hit. But I would say it's at least a week, hopefully more, but it'll be announced.
Yeah, we generally have no idea. They haven't said anything, so hopefully a long time is as much as we can say.
And we're lucky this time it's not designated uh, time frames like previous betas and specific days. That was awful.
Yeah, for sure.
I had to work most of those days, and I was like, oh man, I only got like a day to play.
Work, Mecha BREAK.
Yeah. work on Mecha BREAK. So Pinaka kind of introduces like a interesting faction here. So I'll first start off, interestingly enough, through one of the recent developer streams when they introduced Pinaka. Chris, the CEO of Mecha BREAK, um, announced that Pinaka was commissioned for the Volturia Strategic Alliance. So now this is technically two strikers that we have under uh, the Strategic Alliance, whereas um, Salem Electric Industries has like six or something. So it's kind of like a power imbalance at the moment, which I'm pretty sure that'll change as the game goes further on. But it's interesting if this is like the world setting right now that Thalassic Federations has like six strikers after that first attack onto Signia Union from Thalassic Federation with the Welkin. Yeah, I was like going back to the map. I noticed, if you want to pull back to the map, it's very interesting about the land uh, territories here. You have the Classic Federation at the bottom right. They have this full island here, or I guess continent, I should say.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty
Classic
big for just
Federation,
an island. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, continent. There's Australian there.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, you notice Signia Union pretty much has like majority of the north side of the map. Like it has like so many continents, and like that little region to the bottom left of Mashmak and Valtria Alliance just mainly has this like bottom left region here in yellow. So I'd figure for a you know faction that has so many strikers, I would have figured it would be Signia Union since they have so much land here or territory. But I guess that isn't always the case. And also, you have Lunar Mare in the middle here, and then I believe there's also that little gray region there where the Vulturia Alliance is. So I found that pretty interesting. But I'm sure as the game goes on, we'll have more strikers for each faction.
Oh yeah, I mean the striker which shall not be named. We don't even actually know if it's going to be available tomorrow. Probably not. Hope so, but who knows?
And just based off of the kit, I'm pretty sure it's related to the Kamiya Heavy Industries.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If it isn't, I'd be very surprised.
Mm-hmm. So Pinaka, pretty interesting. It's said it was developed by Gutindra Combat Engineer Troops. And they say this is like a mass production model of a striker that hasn't been revealed yet called Serenith. And it seems like, just as a support fashion, it's a support type striker designed to repair other strikers on the battlefield.
It's very good at it as well. Well, I guess it's
And so,
less good at healing and more so at shielding and then healing at the same time.
yeah, it's also interesting that Pinaka is like one of the only strikers besides melee units that actually has like a lock on dash. So if you go back to the healing hands weapon one, you'll see it can lock on to allies within a certain distance and like dash straight towards them,
Yeah. It's
just as how melee strikers would melee dash into
I
enemy
am
strikers.
still confused as to why they've kept Binaka's cover airdrop kit as an actual like attack rather than just being a barrier. But who knows?
Yeah, and they'll They'll have to rename the description here 'cause it's not high damage from what we saw in that video. It used to be high damage,
Yeah, in open beta, you drop 3 of those things, you take out a Tricera. So
which might be necessary if we get any tanky kind of units like that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pinica drops walls from above, which I guess is like some sort of. I mean, it's like engineering troops when you think of engineers. I guess technically, maybe in like war scenarios, engineers would be like creating the trenches and cover and sandbags and stuff like that to fortify locations. So I guess this is where they tie into the theme of engineer.
I mean, that makes sense, like, especially using them as cover, but not as a literal weapon from the sky.
And this is what was very interesting to me about, oh yeah, and Samasara, that's like more Hindu. It's like the ring in the back. So cool Hindu mythology again. But what I thought was interesting, my first thought, I was like, oh, it's dropping stuff from space. This is probably from Lunar Mare, but I found out it's Volturia Federation
Oh, okay.
because it looked kind of like a space unit to me. So I was like, ah, space, Lunar Mare, but nope, it's Volturia.
That would be too easy.
Yep. And that seems kind of interesting because maybe it's kind of like comparison of like India and China being in that region there. It's like,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, that's true.
neighbors.
Close friends.
Yeah, I thought for sure. I mean, maybe it could be, but classic federations, maybe like America and like Europe or something. It just seems like a combination. Whereas, yeah, I would say probably Falcon and like Panther, maybe more uh, Scandinavia, Germany, probably, considering Danish and the Norse mythology. That would be up there in the north.
Yeah, kind of the Western, not so far Western Europe as Britain, but the western part of the mainland of Europe.
Yeah. And so the striker we haven't gone over yet is Lumine and Narukami. To Lumine. Lumine is a NG Luna Company manufactured striker, and this was for Lunar Mare. And what's interesting about Lumine is it's described as like a maintenance type of striker, and it's guarding the orbital elevator, well, the lunar elevator. So I guess it's like a two-way elevator where you have like the bottom part, Earth orbit elevator, and then this, which is called the Star Tower, and then you got the lunar part of it, which is the Moon Link. Which kind of makes it sound like there's literally like an elevator long bridge that goes straight to the moon, but I don't think it's like that. But again, name drops Serenith. But interestingly enough, Pinaka and Lumine don't share the same manufacturer, but they're also, based off of or inherited technology from Serenith. So, what used to be a pilot description, but got removed now, but Lumine has the dynamic between the different modes. So I don't know if they added it to the weapon description, but it used to list that it's destruction mode. I believe that's what it was called. The anti-heal mode.
Yeah, I'll just go through
It's
the
yeah,
weapons one by one.
corruption module.
Corruption.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah, as
So
opposed to Pinaka, Lumine is supposed to be the more like standard healer. It has like most of the time you'll be in your Healy mode, shooting off drones and trying to heal your teammates. Um, Unfortunately, and this is just a completely gameplay thing, unfortunately, Lumine seems to underperform a little bit when we were hearing from stuff from the devs and from like players and stuff, especially during the tournament. So hopefully, Lumine is getting a little bit of a Healy buff. That's kind of what I want. But we'll see. You know, it'll really depend, especially on stuff like team comp. But yeah,
Yeah, as far as I understood, um, I believe you can have maybe like 4 healing drones out at the same time, but you can't like stack it onto the same target. You only put one per. This is the what I like to call healing fart gas.
pretty much is. By the way, I don't know what these recommendeds are. I don't watch any of these channels, so I don't know what these playlists are. Uh,
Mm, 0 to hero. So interesting little tidbit, but the drone launcher, I believe, is called Fogbow. Um, healing fart gas. See if it's listed. I think it's called Air Glow Haze Diffuser.
yeah,
So
drone launcher is Fogbow. The haze diffuser is Airglow haze diffuser. The supportive jet wing is called the Easterlies. Easterlies.
yeah,
Say that. And then corruption form module is called the Fern. I think that's how you say that. Fern, maybe.
yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
So I believe these are all like wind atmosphere related naming schemes, like easterly winds and fogbow, mist haze. That's a Lumine's pattern for its weapon naming conventions. Go figure. It's got wings, it's fart gas, wind, has a mobility when it's in its not corrupted mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what the designated name distinction is. I guess most of us would probably call it wing mode and corruption mode, I guess.
Or heal mode and damage mode or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, green, red.
Green, green mode, red mode. Yeah, I mean, less syllables, quicker.
Just like Lucio, when you're in the green mode, you get a little speed boost for your team, little regen for your EN. But only the fart gas dictates the healing for the team.
I do love me some
Whereas
Fargas.
corruption mode is the red fart gas, which damages enemies nearby. And it also, I believe, it turns Fogbow into an alternate attack type mode where you can put damaging drones onto strikers. And what's unique about it is it goes through the fluid shields, just like melee units. So if you have some annoying characters on your team, you can just plop them on there and they'll hopefully run away, back off.
Fingers crossed.
It's unfortunate you can't. I don't think you can stack them on the same target, but or maybe you can. I'm not so sure about destruction mode. So that was the only striker, and now we're going over to Narukami. Narukami's interesting because it belongs to a faction that's not really listed on the map. And I'm not too sure to refer to it as the Isles of Vessel Kamizawa, or should I just refer to it as Ushu? Probably going to refer to it Isles of Vessel Kamizawa. But the manufacturer for this Japanese themed striker is Kamiya Heavy Industries. Just as many anime and mecha and samurai kind of groups, Kamiya is well known. Narukami also means like thunder or thunder god. And so, just as All the other strikers, Pyrogenesis assisted in the development. This striker maybe a little bit more, as it describes that Ushu was having difficulty trying to go into the third generation striker arms war, lacking the technology, probably because it's such a tiny island. That's my guess, as it's not listed anywhere on the world map. Because it also seems like Isle Vessel Kamizawa seems more like maybe a vessel as in like a ship, or did they mean vessel like vessel country?
Oh, well, that's vassal. That's VASSAL.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, then probably not. Then it's probably a actual ship then.
I mean, I think I don't know if we talked about this in the last World Break, but when I see the words Isle Vessel, it very much reminds me of something from like Metal Gear Solid, like Outer Haven, Outer Heaven sort of thing. It's just a massive, gigantic, humongous ship that people just live on.
And that's probably why they have technology issues because they're living on a ship and not an island that has resources, is my guess.
Yeah. Also, if anybody's seen the Mecha film Promare, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention that film. But yeah, that's kind of what I think of when I see the words Isle Vessel.
And what's unique about Narukami here is it got experimental technology, just like all the other strikers from Pyrogenesis. And this one's about the optical camouflage and mass production or projection. So, fun thing about Narukami, you got the aim down sights, does more damage when you're fully scoped and fully charged. But once you deploy your decoy drones, although they're called decoys, they actually deal damage. So the more drones you have out, they sync with your sniper rifle and you fire in rapid succession. If you charge your rifle, so do the decoys. But yeah, it's interesting. The technology that they gave to Narukami is called micropixel unit. That's called Stardust, which is kind of like the particle theme we got here.
It
And
genuinely wouldn't surprise
mhm,
me if we see the acronym GN somewhere in the uh, the Isle Vessel Ushu strikers.
might as well be.
I know.
And just my speculation, but I'm pretty sure Umbra also part of Kamiya Industries. Although it's kind of ironic that they're called heavy industries, but both of the strikers are likely, well, Narukami confirmed light type striker. Umbra most likely also light type. They also share the same cloaking technology, or at least appears to be.
And for those who are confused at who Umbra is, that is the striker who shall not be named. I don't see. This is the thing. We've spoken about it in the general channel in the Mecha Break Discord, so I don't think it's an NDA thing. I think they're okay
Yeah,
with
it's
it being
not.
like general knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a supposedly or seemingly lightweight striker, light attacker that has two. I think it was beam swords from what I remember from the footage.
Yeah,
Two beam
beam, just
swords.
two swords. Yeah.
Yeah, two swords. Yeah, has a similar cloaking device to Narukami, and seems to be able to zip around kind of similarly to Falcon, but it doesn't have obviously a jet mode. So
Yeah,
if we get that in the open beta test, I am 100% going to try that out because I love that stuff. But if not, we will continue to speculate and probably be 100% wrong by the time proper information comes out.
yeah, it had so we have like an official Japanese video up about Umbra. Pretty sure the name's Hike, but everyone calls him Hiei. But there's no NA English name announced, so we just go by Umbra because it sounded cool. So that was our nickname for it. but I'm pretty sure the characters. I talked to Perunde about this, where it's like
Mhm.
the characters for quote unquote EA are like shadow and scenery,
Mhm.
which kind of sounds weird, determining it's like based off of its play style. But interestingly enough, the scenery, I believe, character, if you add like three strokes to the side of it, it becomes shadow.
Oh, that's
So
so edgy. I love it.
flying, yeah, I believe the first character means flying, and then the second character was scenery. And flying shadow sounds a lot cooler than flying scenery. But there might be some sort of unique, like maybe Chinese origin to the name, some sort of like mythology behind it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the
But
footage on YouTube. It seems to have been scrubbed, so I'm not sure where it's gone. But it does exist. We're not just all collectively having an aneurysm and making up strikers.
yeah, because basically there's like an in-person Japanese, like Japan event, like there was in San Francisco, and
Yeah.
then I believe in China as well. I forgot if there was another country. I believe it where there was. But anyways, there's in-person event, and promoting that event and live stream, they release some videos, and we have official approved videos showcasing Umbra, but it's just not officially released yet. There's a lot of limited information we have on, and the footage from that Japanese event, they didn't even have. Um, I guess the term is long boost, I believe, but I like to call it assault boost because it's just assault boost from Armored Core. If you're familiar,
Yep.
that system was just added after that, so I'm pretty sure the kit of Umbra has to catch up because now melee strikers have even more mobility. So pretty sure the kit's gonna be like completely different by the time Umbra comes out.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, anybody in chat with Armored Core 6's Assault Boost, essentially you lock onto a target, potentially even an entire map away if your lock on allows for that. Press the melee button, and as far as you can get with the remaining energy you have, you just head straight towards them. You could kind of move side to side as well to dodge incoming projectiles if you're just heading straight for, say, a Narukami. Um, but yeah, that's what the assault boost, which is what I will probably continue to call it, is as a mechanic.
Yeah, as I think it's confusing where it's like melee boost, long boost, kind of sounds weird. And then if we're doing like quick dodges, or you gonna call it dodging or dashing, so we're gonna have to come together as a community and start figuring out
But
terminology names for these things.
right here, right now, we will be the arbiters of what the terminology is. All right.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we keep shouting loud.
Exactly. Just keep saying it. People will eventually adopt it, I'm sure.
I mean, we got Umbra to carry on since it didn't have any. That was fun.
Yeah, true, true.
Yeah.
Already did it.
And
Exactly.
so that,
Already did it with Roof Lizard. It's no longer Stego, it's Roof Lizard. So just
yeah,
keep it up.
exactly.
Keep saying certain things, and the community will hopefully adopt them, and we can all understand what each other is saying.
Basically. And so I want to go to Break Strikers. Maybe it got changed. Yeah, so there's like little hints here, like for the website, which Moonbow is the ship. It's gonna be so weird now because you have Misra Matrix, who's funding Shadow, who's deployed on Moonbow. So it's gonna be so much weird terminology. But yeah, there's a little description here that says, Moonbow, they deploy the formidable break strikers to address the various EIC related crises and explore the truth behind EIC. So they keep alluding to this interesting, truth behind Corite
Mhm.
and, you know, Aleseness is more than just a weapon. And then if I believe there's another description for break strikers.
Is there anything on either website detailing this stuff?
Oh yeah, just go to combat info. You have to go to the yeah, you're already on the official website. So go combat info, world setting.
Ah, break strikers. There we go. I should be able to see this
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So if we can pull up the image, this part's fun. So from what I understand, right there for break striker, at the feet of the pilot inside the cockpit, that should be the Corite engine there. But also,
Yeah.
I guess inside, like the engine is also the brain, which is weird. And so, like when you do the boarding sequence, players will recognize that there's like a weird spinning cube in the center of like this contraption there. So that's like the Corite engine. But I think it's also the brain. So I think like the brain is the engine, which I guess makes sense because Corite is the fuel source. So it's pretty interesting. Still gonna need more information, but that's my theory here.
Your game theory. Sorry, I had to say it at least once, you know?
Yep, it's
Right.
just a theory. Yep, and so this is what the cockpit looks like. And then Moonbow, although it just shows the Falcon pilot. I think Fervor. Her name might be different now, but on the website, I think it's still officially Mathilda. And so all the strikers. So this is another fun kind of curveball. Is although all of these industries created these strikers for these different factions, there's a select few of those factions that are a part of Shadow. So technically, Shadow has all of these strikers part of their elite task force to combat EIC related crisis or like, terrorism, stuff like that. So I'm not sure whether to designate it's like this belongs to this federation slash Shadow. But also another curveball is all the strikers that are listed here, they're all technically like mass production units. And so what we have are like custom versions of the mass production units.
Yeah.
But the cannon pilots, like Mathilda on Moonbow, she has like a very specific variant of the mass production unit of Falcon. So that's why we can't customize her striker. Those are like, it's a specific version of the max production that we use. But unfortunately, it doesn't have any like unique weaponry. It's just more like a cosmetic at this point. But Chris did tease that in the future we'd have variants of strikers that would have different loadouts. So I guess that's a interesting tidbit where it's like these aren't just unique strikers, they're also mass produced for our main character to pilot, but the canon pilots like Charles and Rui and Shally, Matilda, they have their own unique striker. Kind of like how Char has his own unique, Zaku.
Yeah.
There's a lot of points of contention where it's like, well, if I play a Gundam game and I like Char's Zaku, but then I want to paint it a different color, kind of defeats the purpose of Char Zaku.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an interesting dynamic of strikers were built to pretty much go through the new terrain after the catastrophe and also secure resources, but also pyrogenesis was so generous adding this new mind bridge technology. And now we're finding out that Corite has the ability to infect strikers and like reanimate them. So if it can reanimate, that implies that Corite's likely alive. It's like a living substance like AC6. So maybe that's why they keep saying Aleseness is not just a striker, just a weapon. Maybe it's actually a living thing, considering these things have brains. And maybe the pilots kind of help fill in the blank. Maybe. Like maybe Corite needs a consciousness, or maybe not. It's maybe a topic for a different podcast, or episode. But it's interesting they're trying to add like a organic kind of theme to the strikers.
So this Marston's pandemic, is this related to potential corruption of the strikers themselves, just the pilots?
Well, specifically, so now maybe yes, but before no. So
Fair.
basically, Marston's pandemic is when there's like a large concentration of EIC. It's called the Marson zone, and there's like plasma storms that go inside the zone. So it's like becomes very dangerous. So that's why we designed strikers, so we could go in that area, possibly, mine the corite. But now we're finding out that in high concentrations like Mashmak, which you could pretty much call the whole island of Mashmak a Marson zone because it's like the highest concentration of corite so far, like on Earth, as far as we understand. Um, it has the ability to infect strikers as well as make people sick. As far as I understood from the descriptions on the website, it's like the sickness is similar to like radiation poisoning. And as you see here, it mineralizes plants. So that's kind of cool. Reminds me of like Lies of P.
Yeah.
I believe Lies of P, it mineralized and made monsters of people. We don't know if it makes monsters of people yet, but as far as I understand, people will die if they're in a Marson zone, fully exposed to high concentration of corite. So it's kind of the reason why they built the orbital elevator after the catastrophe happened. There was so much corite, um, I guess, pollution in the air after all the volcanic activity and just all these zones of EIC, that the atmosphere in a lot of areas were inhabitable, and it's like slowly growing over the different continents. So humanity's decision was like, okay, Earth's kind of screwed right now. Let's go to the moon. The moon doesn't have corite on it.
Always the
So
mood.
that's when they decided to colonize the moon. But during the prologue, the space elevator to go to the moon, before it was like gonna open up to the public, got destroyed by Makalu, part of the um, Thea Vanguard, which is interesting because it seems to be implied that Thea Vanguard is likely stationed inside Mashmak, because that's where we're going to fight Makalu again, based off of the promotional videos. But it's interesting. I guess you're going to see a lot of variety. I guess we can go into like the enemy units side, because we're
Mhm.
talking about Mashmak, and they're also industries there we haven't talked about. So one of the industries I want to talk about is actually unique to the Vulturia Alliance, Strategic Alliance. So if you go to the left here, this left square where this unit seems like has like rocket pods, its a silhouette or body style seems kind of akin to Welkin. Well, that's because it's related to Welkin. So in the family tree, if you go to bottom right, view full model tree. If you click on the Vulcan Electric Tech at the bottom there, you'll see the whole Vulcan Electric tech tree. So in Welkin's bio, it says that Wolren was like the prototype for Welkin. So this is like the basis of where Welkin came from, based off of Vulcan electric technology. But Welkin specifically was designed by Pyrogenesis. But as you can see here, design's super similar. It's got the axe. Wolverine's kind of unique because it has like a bubble shield if you go into the weaponry and stuff like that. But as you can see, there's a definite like round design feature, very bally, kind of chunky, kind of looks like maybe if you took the Incredibles ball kind of mech, turned it into like a striker. And if you go back to the model tree again, you'll see the Bifrost Industries has their other mass production units. As you can tell, it's very streamlined, very sharp. Shiraka or Shikra is also part of the Falcon family tree. Above Shikra would be Valraven. In another podcast, I'll go into mech family trees or striker family trees. But as you can see, this pretty much looks like a, you know, fully kitted Falcon almost.
Yeah.
And as you know, the Falcon is more like a design striker, whereas I believe Shikra is more probably maybe at least a medium, but it's hard to tell.
I mean, it looks very slim and sleek in its body, but then it's got that massive set of wings on the back, so who knows?
Yeah. And so it's just interesting to see that, you can tell the different styles. So if we go to Salem Electric, I guess Makalu is also part of Salem, which is interesting. So Dino, right here, he's a prototype of the Dino series. So he was like one of the first strikers developed for, before Tricera, before, Rooftop. Roof Lizard Striker. So just in similar fashion, heavy, small head.
Classic.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets worse with Makalu, but I guess Makalu is I guess a lot larger. Oh yeah, Makalu's head is pretty small too, so just like in Salem fashion. Big bulky boy, heavy weapons, tiny head.
Yeah,
So what I find
I actually,
interesting.
I
Mhm.
really can't wait to go into Mashmak and fight Makalo and Constantine. Like, it's one of the most exciting things to me.
Yeah, this is gonna be a big fights. I mean, who doesn't want to fight a battleship?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just Armored Core 6 all over again.
True. So true.
Yep, except this time we don't have unlimited flight. Well, I guess that was only for the Rusty fight, huh?
Oh man, V4 Rusty, absolute legend.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see that Salem Electric mass produced a unit called Makalu, but Makalu is under the Thea Vanguard faction, even though, you know, they mainly develop strikers for Thalassic Federation. So you kind of see they're kind of like more like industries for hire. They'll just make strikers for anybody. But if it's Salem Electric Industries, you better bet it's going to be a bulky, heavy armed weaponized striker with a tiny head.
I love the tiny
And
heads.
Kamiya Heavy Industries, if it's from there, it's likely going to have cloaking abilities. Probably going to have a Japanese theme. If it's from Bifrost Industries, it's going to have more of a sleek design like we have here, very sharp. If it's going to come from Vulturia Alliance, it's going to be round and bally, but also kind of heavy, which is interesting because when you look at Welkin, you'd expect it to be like a heavy, but wait, no, I think it is a heavy bruiser. Yeah, I
Welkin
think
is
it was.
is it?
It's either heavy or medium, right?
I honestly can't remember. I feel like it's a heavy brawler.
I can see. I have a.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it would be a medium brawler. No way.
So let's see. Maybe it doesn't give me the.
Just going through the medium, high, and extreme threats one by one.
It doesn't show me. It just says brawler. Yeah, it was
Ah,
only
okay.
in game where they had like the weight differences, which seems like Salem Electric. They all like the ultra heavies.
Yeah.
I think Quilla is a heavy sniper, right? And then
Akila's a heavy sniper. Yeah.
yeah, and then Skyraider I think's medium, Falcon's light.
Yep.
Elysinus I believe is also medium. I would have
Medium
expected,
attacker. Yeah.
yeah, I would have expected Panther to be like a heavy, but he's medium. It's interesting.
I would say medium suits Panther a lot better, just because that boosting around and the ability to regain energy very much suits a medium rather than a light or a heavy.
Yeah, so I'm like, Welkin, if he is a heavy, doesn't look that big, but then you go to ultra heavies, they look much larger.
That's true. Ultra heavies
Very
are
bulky.
chonker.
And just as heavy, ultra heavy types, they have very poor EN gauge efficiency. They're very slow.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues I found with Welkin is the EN capacity is you burn a lot compared to like playing Elysinus or Panther. I guess
Is
that's just weight range
there?
stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. Is there anything else you wanted to go over? Because we've done a lot, and it's already been an hour and a half. Like it generally didn't even feel like that. But we've gone through all of the notes. But if you had anything else you wanted to like slip in at the end,
The Constantine, I believe, reading this description is the Thalassic Federation. So here's the interesting thing for Mashmac coming up. So just like the website, I believe it's like some. Let me check the name. Post catastrophe, new conquest is what they went over. But basically, all the factions they're all bum rushing Mashmak right now to get as many resources as they can because it's ever since Welkin attacked Signia Union, there's been this big kind of arms race for technology, third generation strikers. Signia Union already has like 3.5 designated generation weapons, so once you go out into Mashmak, you're gonna notice you're gonna be attacked by like Thalassic Federation, Vulturia Alliance. There's also Makalu's Thea Vanguard in there, but we're deploying as Moonbow because we're trying to stop, I believe, the conflicts there, but also, I guess, pick up some research and bring some parts home. So it's kind of funny dynamic.
and I'll add this as a little teaser for the end. Nothing to do with this podcast or anything, but it's to do with Mashmac and potential drops. That if you didn't watch the global preview, then I'll let you know at the end of the podcast when we do all of the outros and stuff.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting reveal.
I went mental. It's crazy.
And just like appropriate Mashmac fashion, now we have to all go in there and
Oh, absolutely,
Bum
mate.
rush for resources.
Day one until like possibly the end of the beta, I'm doing almost exclusively Mashmac for that
Yeah, it's gonna
reason.
be rough for me because I'm gonna be mainly in the hangars talking to NPCs, analyzing the prologue, see if anything changed again, see if there's anything new, trying not to skip any dialogue.
Hey, that's your job right now. You are the lore master, so unfortunately you're not allowed to enjoy the game. You have to read every single piece of dialogue, watch every single
you
cutscene multiple times to get all the pixel perfect interpretations.
Well, that's the hard part about prologues is like you're gonna have to alt F4 the game just to go
That's
back.
true. Yeah.
Because the prologue's only once.
I mean, you can do it. Oh, how many servers have they got? 4, 5 for the open beta? Because from the last open beta, it was you had to make a new character when you switch server, and then you had to do the prologue again. So you could just do that like 4 or 5 times if you really wanted to.
That's true. All right, well, I think that's pretty much it for the industries. There's just Pyrogenesis seems to be super generous, giving all these different manufacturers
Mm.
experimental technology and the mine bridge system. Now all the strikers have mine bridge system, which is the main thing Eleseness was designed to have. So it's probably something really sus about to happen.
I mean, I can't
Maybe
wait
the
for the full sus to unleash.
maybe the exact reason why Corite can infect a striker is because it has a Corite brain. Or maybe it's because it was previously piloted by a pilot. And when a pilot dies, maybe that Neuralink stays open. I don't know. We'll find out.
We will indeed. But if that is everything that you have to offer us in terms of lore for today, as I think we will call that an episode. What do you think?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. Uh, but it was really fun trying to squeeze out as much information as I remember
Hmm.
about
Well,
the
yeah,
strikers and little details like, you know, Falcon has like some sort of Danish mythology going on with Valraven, and then Panther has Norse mythology with its weapon names, and its predecessors have like Anglo-Saxon poem names, and Hurricane has like Greek mythology epic references, and Lumine has like atmosphere kind of wind related naming schemes.
yeah. Cool. So that will be the end of World Break episode 2, focusing on the manufacturers, the industries, the strikers, and some pilot stuff. Focusing on some weapons and mashmac and enemies and a bunch of stuff that we managed to cram into an hour and 40 minutes. So once again, thank you very much to Az for joining me. It's this podcast doesn't exist without you. So all of the uh, all of the love should go to Az for this particular podcast because he does all the research. I just sit here and say stupid things.
Well, I mean, you cut in when appropriate with questions that I'm sure you have your own ideas and theories of your own.
I mean, I do to a certain degree, but you're the one who's done like most of the in-depth, deep diving stuff for this. So I always defer to people who have got more experience in certain things like that. But yes, like I say, thank you everybody for joining me. It has been a wonderful episode of World Break. Bit of housekeeping, but first, as have you got anything you'd like to promote? Anything you'd like to say before I let you go?
If you guys want to see more content, YouTube channel. It's called AZSXJ. It's also, if you see me in the Mecha Break Discord, it's attached to my profile. If you got any questions, you can DM me. You'll find me in the Discord.
Just
And
getting
if you
more.
guys have any questions or if you guys want to theorize, you can join me in the lore channel on the Discord.
Yes, indeed. I don't for some reason, every time I try and create an invite and paste it into the chat, it doesn't work. But I'm sure there's a way to find it. Like go onto Mecha BREAK's Twitter account or their YouTube, and I'm sure the links are all there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just now we've got the boring stuff, and then I'll let you all go. The self promo and all that other nonsense. So on this channel, we do a bunch of stuff. We play all sorts of games. However, Mecha BREAK is a game that I'm super excited for because I absolutely love mecha stuff. So we'll be doing Mecha BREAK just streams, doing Mashmac and 3v3, 6v6, whatever, starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. That's when the beta comes out. We are also learning and going to be participating in the Gundam card game stuff. If you're interested in Gundam and or card games at all, I recommend if you have Tabletop Simulator. Well, firstly, if you don't, get it, and then go to the workshop, download, or I guess the term is subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to the Gundam card game beta workshop
In the
add-on or
mhm.
whatever. Yeah, do that. And then let me know and we can come and play together because I want to teach as many people as possible because I want it to succeed as much as possible because I love mecha. Second thing is we alongside World Break, we also do another podcast called The Moonbow Network. It's a more conversational podcast where we talk about all sorts of stuff. The first one is uploaded to my YouTube channel, which I believe there is a link underneath the video player or whatever. And I'll be uploading World Break there as well. We were talking, first episode was just kind of general chit chat about stuff. Second episode was a lot deeper. It was about monetization and potential predatory practices. I know we don't really have anything concrete in terms of evidence to support one or the other in terms of what Mecha BREAK is going to do, but you know, if it comes out as free to play, there's always the possibility that it becomes a pay to win nightmare. They have said, the devs have said that they see pay to win as completely unacceptable, and that is verbatim. So, you know, you can quote me on that because they said it. So I just hope that the monetization that comes in for the game isn't too predatory. But if it's all cosmetics, it's fine. You know, give the Gooners the crazy bikini stuff for their pilots. I don't care as long as they keep funding the game. And lastly, oh yeah, last two things. Of course, open beta starts in 10 hours. So go to bed, get some sleep, download the Mecha BREAK demo from Steam. Make sure you configure it properly for your settings. If you have DLSS enabled or FSR, make sure you turn that stuff on as well, because of course, it's all just helpful to your system, regardless of how good it is. And the last thing, if you didn't watch the global preview, in Mashmac tomorrow, starting tomorrow, alongside watching streams to get the ultimate maintenance box, you can go into Mashmac. If you are able to send off some of the supplies that you get while you're in Mashmac, or you are able to extract, there is a chance to get a ultimate maintenance box. In those ultimate maintenance boxes, there is a random amount of Corite, and also the possibility of getting a voucher for a physical real life statue of Falcon that will be released at a later date at some point. So download the open beta, go into Mashmac, spam it as much as you want, and just pray any ultimate maintenance boxes that you get have a voucher. You will need to then go to, I believe, customer service for ASG and or Mecha BREAK to redeem it to prove that you've actually got one. And then they said during the global preview stream thingy that they will send them out to the people that have got them successfully when they've been produced. And I believe that is everything. So once more, thank you everybody for watching. Take care, stay safe. Thank you to Az, and I will see you tomorrow for some Mecha BREAK.